like everybody that lives in that group and the surrounding supporting families as well. Pastor Barry is also an author, and that's something we didn't know about.
Neither did he.
So that's a blessing as well. So before he starts, I'd just like to say a little prayer. And I know you understand that Pastor Barry is a missionary. And he's got a missionary outreach here in the United States of America in Maine. And we appreciate the work he's doing there because it's a special need. Because in Maine, if your family is homeless, you're separated from your family. And we know that's not good. But there's nothing families can do about that. And that's something that really grabbed the heart of Shelter by Jesus, is to make families, make it possible for them to have homes so that their family can stay together.
Amen.
So I'd like to just say this prayer now, if I may. Father, I pray for those out in the mission fields spreading the good news of the gospel. In this country and around the world, they have seen their brothers' needs and have not shut up their hearts for them, but have faithfully gone forth into all the earth. Let them be called with a holy calling, not according to their works, but according to your own purpose, Father. Out of love, they have laid down their lives and determined to be doers of the work and not hearers only. I pray for those in prison for their beliefs, not being ashamed, they share in the sufferings for the gospel and endure all things for the sake of those chosen for salvation. Father, send forth your angels and cause them to be set free. Do not forget their work and labor of love. Stand with them and strengthen them. Deliver them from every evil work and preserve them. Cause the things which have happened to actually turn out for the furtherance of the gospel, and make your ministers a flame of fire. Help them to hold fast to the word of life, proving what is acceptable to the Lord, exposing the unfruitful works of darkness, and shining as bright lights in a dark world. And let their hard work be an example to us as we send fellow laborers and ministers out of God, to encourage and establish them concerning their faith, so that they will not be shaken by afflictions. Give them the boldness to speak the gospel in the midst of conflict, in demonstration of the Spirit and power, and to fulfill the ministry they have received in the Lord. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here today. It's exciting to be here. We're honored to be here. I have to admit, God has a way of always making me feel dumb when I leave a place. The first time I came here, and God made me feel dumb as I was leaving, because as I drove in and I saw a handful of people, I said, well, God, for the first time, we probably won't make gas money. So I said, it's all up to you, and we're here to minister to them. And I don't care how it works out. But you ended up, and I've told people this, if you read 2 Corinthians chapter 8, it talks about a Macedonian church that gave sacrificially and blew away the big churches. You have supported us greater than any big church I've ever been to. And I say that to your credit and your hearts for God, because that's where it comes from. For a group this size to support us financially the way that you have is absolutely incredible. And I am here on behalf of the Shelter by Jesus to say thank you for your sacrificial and loving giving to the homeless. Thank you very much. So, having said all of that, we are excited. Great things are happening in Skowhegan right now. I'm going to share the word in a second. But I'd like to have a word of prayer first and then share a couple things before we get into the word. Dad, I'm just so excited you've got me here this morning. Holy Spirit, I feel your presence. And thank you for this group that has the determination to live and work for you. And it's obvious every time I come here, Lord, that that's what it is. So thank you. And I'm praying right now that the words come out of my mouth today would be honoring to you and touch the hearts of the hearers today. Lord, if I need a filter, put a filter on, because this old ex-woodsman sometimes needs to be filtered just a drop. And so I understand it can be a little rough, so Lord, I'd appreciate it if you would help me in that. And Lord, thank you for these loving and generous and warm people to welcome us here today. Ask your blessing, Holy Spirit, please move with power through your message of your ministry. In Jesus' name, amen. I was sharing with them in the upper room, and I kind of like saying that, go in the upper room to pray. Not many people get a chance to say that. That's the only place I go to the upper room is here. You know? That's as close as I'm going to get to Jerusalem. So this is it. But Leslie wanted me to share that last night, as because we have services every night of the week. I preach Saturday and Sundays if I'm home. And last night, at the end of the service, we had 7 brand new believers. That's what we're excited about. And we praise God, but the week before that we had 5, the week before that 6. So every week that we have new believers. And last year alone we saw over 400 new believers. That's what you're supporting. That's exactly what you're supporting. And so I want you to know your monies, God is using them for His glory. Last night, just for the service, we took in a family of 4. A husband and wife and 2 little boys, 5 and 7. We actually put them in the sanctuary last night because we didn't have any room for them. We're doing some rearranging today. We didn't have a chance to do it last night, but they're rearranging some stuff to be able to get them into a room. Another couple without kids is going to sleep in the sanctuary, and they're going to that room until we can make more. But right now our church building with families is just exploding. And we're the only ones around taking any homeless period right now. We're getting calls from all the agencies. And they call us, say, Pastor Barry, you're the only homeless shelter we've ever called that said we always got room for one more. Amen. And that's to the glory of God. I promise Jesus Christ we will not say no. And as churches like you all over this country that support us, that allow us to do that. Right now we have around 90 living there. And we are feeding out of our food pantry 631 families. Besides what the people we feed at the shelter. So we put on, we're feeding almost 300 meals a day, besides 631 families. And it isn't just touching those in the church. I got a call from a little old lady that has lived over our way, and she called me and said, Pastor Barry, you haven't met me, but she said, I've been trying to get you a pantry, I've been a couple of times to get some food, but I can't afford the $5 for taxi to come over. I was wondering how we could work out, maybe I could get some food. Well, she lives, I asked where she lived, and she lives over near our new home. And so I said, ma'am, I'll bring it to you. And she said, you live? I said, sure. So I told the guys, box out, I said, put a bunch of meat in this one. And we did. I took a lot of food. And I walked into this lady's home, and I wish I could have every one of you walk through this with me. You'd understand why I cry a lot. And if you read my book, you see I cry all the time. About what's going on. That lady, she took the crying when I walked in. She came over to me, little old lady about this tall, and she hugged me as high as she could. I think she got me around here sometimes. But she did the best she could. And she said, you don't know what you just did. She said, I want to show you something, Pastor Dick. She walked me, first of all, to her freezer and opened it. There was nothing. She opened the fridge. There was nothing. I mean, not even baking soda. When I say nothing, I mean, it's like going into a store and looking in the refrigerator. She took me from cupboard to cupboard to cupboard. There wasn't one item in that house to eat. She said, Pastor Barry, if you had not shown up today, I'd be 100 right now. And people say, why do you keep doing this? Well, walk with me a while, and you'll see why. Last night, I had the dad of the family walked into my office. He said, you Pastor Barry? I said, I am. He came over and he grabbed my hand and he shook it and he got all teary-eyed and he said, thank you. My family's going to be warm tonight. I'm the dad. And he got talking and he said, I said, where are you from? Actually, I said, his name's Alex. Where are you from? He said, well, really, I'm from Keene, New Hampshire. It was rural. And I said, really? He said, do you know what Keene, New Hampshire is? I said, yes, I go to Camp Spot for something. up to some of the conferences. I actually spoke at one of the conferences. And he said, isn't that obvious? He said, I used to run soccer camps at the conference, at Camp Spofford. I said, really? And he's gone from Camp Spofford to Trinity to live. You never know what God's going to do, or what his plans are. And then he inspired this book, and I believe this book is inspired, not like the Bible. Don't get me wrong. It's not the Bible. If you read it, you're going to say, that's not the Bible. It's written by a dumb hick who doesn't even read books. And the reason I wrote the book was, I was going to church, all the churches I've been to last year, every one of them I got to speak and wanted me to have a book. They wanted a book because they want to hear more miracles, more miracles. And I said, well, I don't have time, I got to go home. And they said, well, write a book, write a book, write a book. Every church. So finally I said, okay, God, you know I can't write. So I said, it's going to be in Hickanese. And so I'm going to sit down. I don't even know how to start it. So I said, how do you start a book? They just start writing. So I said, I just started writing. No chapters, nothing. No paragraph, just writing. And we got all done. My wife helped me, and my granddaughter helped me, and they kind of edited around and made paragraphs and got chapters and tried to make some sense out of my hand scratching. And 6 weeks from the time I sat down, the book was done. And a publisher heard that I was doing that because a guy, somebody wrote Ford Bellier and Sam Harvard. Well, they went to the publisher and spoke to Aaron and said, Pastor Barry's doing this book. He's been in our churches. We've heard him speak. He's going to write about how he speaks. And he said, it's going to be very interesting if you ever heard him talk. I don't know what it's going to come out like, but if he tells his stories, it's just a bunch of his stories. And so it's not like a book, whatever that is. All right? It's not a literary gem. All right? So Aaron calls me and he says, I want to see your manuscripts. And I said, well, the book isn't done. Typos, it's a mess. It's just, couldn't even describe it. It's undescribable. He said, well, send me your manuscripts. I want to see them. So I sent them to him, and he called me back, and he said, I gave them to our critic. I said, wonderful. I told you they stunk. They weren't ready for anything. And you give them to your critic, and he's the editor, and he said, he's really tough and all of this. I said, wonderful. Yeah. Well, he said, I told him, tell me what we need to do to make this book work. And he said, because I read it and couldn't put it down. Just your manuscript, so it was finished. He said, I couldn't stop with finished. And so he said, I sent it to Marco. And I said, Marco, I want to know. He said, I think this could be one of our better sellers. I said, you've got to be kidding. He said, no. He said, it's definitely a different book. Well, Marco read it and called Aaron back, and Aaron said, you know what Marco said to me? I said, no, I don't know what Marco said to you. But let me know. He said, don't you touch one thing in that book. Amen. He said, that's the first time Marco's ever said that. And it ain't even like a book. So, I couldn't even pass English. If you buy the book, you know what I'm talking about. But Aaron and Marco both said they made us laugh, they made us cry, and we think people are going to love this book. So we want it. So he says, I want it out before Christmas. And I said, well, it's not done. He said, just finish it and send it to me. I go, well, I didn't know how to start it. I don't know how to stop it. It's just things that God brought to mind. I scribble them down, And I'm writing and reading them out loud with my wife, who reads books all the time and actually does know, could write one if she wanted to. And so anyway, I said to her, well, where do I stop? She says, well, wherever God tells you to stop. Well, how do you end it if there's no, I know how to end this. And so, you know how I ended it? It's really brilliant. This could get out in history. It's so brilliant. You don't want to miss this. Here's my ending. The story continues. ... exclamation. Yeah. Nailed it. That was the first thing I've already been asked for a sequel, and I said I couldn't write one. What do you want two for? So, anyway, I do have the book with me today. I'm not doing a sales pitch, but I will let you know that it is there. And half of that goes to the shelter, half goes to publisher. You're doing a 50-50 with me. They don't do that. They're doing a special thing with us. Because I don't get any royalties. Wife and I get zero from it. I didn't write the book. God wrote the book. It's his book. It's his money. It's his people. So we sell the book for $10, and $5 goes right to the homeless shelter. So when you purchase the book, you're supporting homeless and taking home a dumb man's book. All right?
Thank you so much.
But God He's so worked on me and so challenged me. And this is one of the passages, I mentioned it in my book actually, but I do want to do some preaching a little bit, if you don't mind. I can't go anywhere and not preach. So I'd like to talk to you, it's in Matthew 14, 25 to 33, first of all. And it's about Peter, and I like Peter because Peter reminds me so much of me. He walked around with his foot in his mouth all the time. And Jesus used to put his foot in his butt most of the time for him. And that's pretty much me. He was rough, he was crude, he was crass, and that's me. And if anybody can do or say something dumb, I'll do it. So I like Peter, and the times when I really feel dumb, Peter makes me feel good with his passages. So this is Peter. I'm not going to enlighten you some great theological truths this morning. So if you came for that, I'm not a professor. I'm just a dumbhead from Skowhegan. All right? So it says, during the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage. It's I, don't be afraid. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Well, come, he said. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. You know what he was? Peter was totally dumb enough to think he could walk on water if Jesus told him to. He was that dumb. Now that's not bright to think you can walk on water. All right? And so many things I'm doing right now are not considered bright. You know, you gotta wake up with a real dumb one to do that. Well, here he is, and Jesus says, Jesus walking on water, we get that, and Peter says, well, that looks cool. I want to walk on water. So Jesus said, well, come on out here. And guess what he's doing? He's walking on water. It's amazing. I read that and go, my word, Pete, nobody. When I love to be walking there with you, man, you know, skipping across the river. I can just see fat man walking on water. You know what I'm saying? A marvelous thing it is. And so he's doing that. And but in verse 30, but when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink there. The Lord said, you know what happened? He got smart. All of a sudden he got smart. He realized, I can't walk on water. What am I doing out here? I can't do this. Men don't walk on water. And there's a wind blowing. He sunk like a rock. Now, was it because he couldn't walk on water? No, he couldn't walk on water to start with. The difference was when he realized he couldn't walk on water. And he forgot that Jesus was having him do something he couldn't do. And all of a sudden he got smart. When he got smart, he sunk. To serve Jesus, you've got to be dumber than a rock. Because he's going to ask you, and I love what the brother said up here. Scott, you touched my heart. Jesus comes knocking on our door, he's going to ask stuff of us. And I believe, my friend, he's going to. But when he comes knocking, be ready for something they're going to look at and go, you've got to be kidding. We can't do that. And the moment you say that, you're in the right place. Because you know what Jesus is going to say in reply? I know that, gentlemen. I didn't ask you so you could do it. I'm asking you to let me show you I can do it. You see, that's when he moves, is when he gets the glory, when you know it's not you. I wrote that book. That's not me. But he kept hounding me with these people. I'm just, I called people and asked them to write this book. They don't turn me down. They said, we don't have time or whatever. It's your book, you go write with them. So I kept saying, God, show me the person to write the book. And I did. I called Dr. Gary Ho, who was a friend of mine, written books, brilliant guy, fantastic guy, the generosity monk, he's called. He understands, he's been in my ministry, he loves my ministry, he uses us as an illustration. I go, he'll write the book. You know how Moses said, I know who can do the talking. God says, I do too. It's you. And here it is, Peter's out there going, I can't do this. And Jesus said, yeah, you're right. Down he goes. Then it says, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You have little faith, he said, why'd you die? You were doing it, dummy. You were doing it. When did you fall? When you realized you couldn't do it. The ministry that we have in Skowhegan, we cannot do. Only a dumb kid from Skowhegan would start a ministry with no budget, no money, and no people. But I had Jesus. And he put me on the road. And everywhere I went, he spoke to people. And then I found out I only had this many people, but he had this many people. And what he's telling me all along is, don't look at the ones sitting beside you. I got a lot more than them. I got some people out in Deerfield, New Hampshire, who would be dumb enough to give you money. They are. They're just a little handful of people who give you a good check.
Praise the Lord.
You see, he makes me feel dumb every time because I go doubting and I hear him saying, oh, you of little faith. Do you think I sent you out there for nothing? I said, well, Lord, I thought I went to minister to them. Well, you did, but I wanted them to minister with you. That's why you're here. Don't look at their numbers. Look at me. It's like, when am I going to get it? Because when all my people left, when I started this, 80% of my people left, I had 18 people left. I had more people living in the church than I had supporting the church. I should have figured out then to stop looking at people and start looking at Jesus. If he called me to it, he'll take me through it. And he'll supply. Now, Peter failed here, but I want to quickly show you another passage, and I'll share some miracles and stuff with you. But I got to share this. In John 21, we see Peter, he actually smartens up and stays dumb this time. In John 21, starting with verse 3. John 21, starting with verse 3. Again, these are passages you've learned in Sunday school, so I'm not going to blow you away with my mighty exposition of these passages or my interpretations. He says, I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told him, and they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and they got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Now you guys know, I know Rusty and all the other guys have taught you that he was a fisherman and the other disciples are fishermen. They're pros, man. It's like Rusty can build a house or whatever you do, you're a pro at it. You know, plumbing, whatever. You're pros, okay? So you know what you're doing. When he went out, he knew what he was doing. Everybody with him knew what they were doing. They're fishing. They're out all night, they got Zippo. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize it was Jesus. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of a large number of fish. What happened? All of a sudden, Peter's trying something he knows can't work, but he's stopped asking questions. He figures out it is Jesus, and somehow he's got an idea, whoever's telling him to do this, whether it's Jesus or God knows what he's talking about, he's buying into it. And so he says, put on the other side. Now, you know Peter's been out all night. He's fished the right side of that boat, the left side of that boat, the front side of the boat, the back of the boat. He's been all over that stupid boat. There is no fish, and he knows it. He knows it. He says, drop it on the right side. He says, I have to drop the side. If you read on the story, it brings so much, man, and that's full, beaming over. There was no fish there. but Jesus was there. And He created what they needed out of nothing. How do you set up and run a homeless shelter with no idea where the finances are coming, and not enough people, not enough resources? By believing to throw the net where there isn't anything. And baby, let me tell you, I've tossed that net over that right side of that ship many times before. And every time I've drawn it up, it was full. Something out of nothing. Right now, God's doing some amazing things. This has been a crazy week for us. The numbers are high. And not much opportunity for employment. And we've been praying about that. We're actually going to start a little business to put people to work. On our own a little bit, we'll be making apple crates in the spring. Stamp made by homeless. Now it's done mine, it's just a little project. Eventually I see a bunch of little businesses going that anybody can do. Well, I thought this was my great thing, and I'm saying, man, wasn't this cool, man? I come up with this. Well, Jesus comes along and says, I'll show you what this is all about. That's pretty cool, Richard. I like that. That's cool. But I'm going to show you a bigger plan than that. Because this will do a little bit for a couple of people. Well, I got a call from the Protein Foundation. I don't know if anybody knows who they are. It's a group of businessmen, Christian businessmen. Last spring, one of the representatives showed up and he said, we heard about you. That's where I wrote the book, I think. And he said, we decided we wanted to give you some support. And we were broker than broke. He gave me a $20,000 check. I said, now that's support. Right? Well, I thought that was the end of the line. That was nice. And it helped this guy up the hump, get us a little. Man, I found something I didn't know what God would give me. It was a pushy. Hadn't had one of them. Unless it was a pin pusher, and I had that. Well, the guy from Protein Foundation called me a couple weeks ago. He says, Pastor Barry, I said, Jerry, he said, the board would like to have me come up and do a video of you and your place. And take it back. They got some questions. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to videotape you. Take it back to them. And like take your book. So we come, we did a video, I gave him a book, we took it back. Then I got a call, and he said, I need to talk with you. So he come over and he says, the president and CEO of the corporation is going to fly in. They have a factory in Michigan that they didn't know, so they get the money for it. And they donate all their profits to feed the hungry and the homeless. That's what they call the Protein Foundation. And they've been doing it since the 80s. Never heard of it. They hooked up. Well, he said, the president said, Pastor Barry, I read your book. In the end of the book, you're looking to try to find jobs to put people to work that can't find jobs. I said, yes, I am. He said, I think we need to talk. So he flew in from Michigan, from where the factory is. He said, here's what we'd like to do. We would like to try a project where we would relocate some of your homeless to our place in Michigan, get them set up with housing, give them a job. We'll work out the logistics, but they start out, there's all kinds of different jobs. The lowest paid one's $11 an hour, wow. Guaranteed 50 hours a week, full benefits and bonuses. And we want to take them out of your homeless shelter. I said, really? He said, really? Well, we got to work out the logistics. Come find out this area doesn't have a lot of rentals. You kind of got to get a home. And so he said, well, how are we going to work all this out? We're sitting there talking. He's buying me dinner. And I'll tell you, if I buys me dinner, he's got my full attention. All right? So we're eating and we're talking. And he goes, well, he said, they need a place to stay out there. And he's talking to him. And the liaison, Matt, his name was Whit. Whit and Matt are talking back and forth. And he goes, yeah, he says, there's not many rentals. And he goes, look at me. Looked at Matt and he goes, I think maybe the foundation would buy a place. They could stay there while they get a down payment on their own place instead of renting, buy a home.
Wow.
That was better than my plan. Way better. And he said, well, they got to have transportation to get to work. And I go, yeah. You got no money for it now? Well, I think probably we can buy a car. I said, oh, of course you would. So he says, what would it be? He said, well, we're going to look at maybe taking 2 guys to send them up first and see how this works. If they work out, that'll open the door for more. They've got over 40 openings for us from people coming out of the shelter if this works out. Does he want to do something for me? And he came to my home and he said, Pastor Barry, I had this made especially for you. And it's a little bit of an embarrassing hat. It says man of faith, which I don't think I am, but he does. So he put man of faith on it, and I love Jesus, and had this all made out, special for me. Well, I hadn't worn the hat. It's kind of ostentatious. You know what I'm saying? For some dumb reason, we're going to go to Unity to watch a horse show with my kids here. And said, well, let's go to that store. Well, I went to go out, and my wife will tell you, I don't wear hats. I have this beautiful hair I don't like covering. You know, at 67, this is the only vain thing I got left. You know, so I go, you know, so I really do that. So I don't put the hat on, you know. And so here I'm putting this hat on, headed for the car. My wife says, you can wear a hat? And I go, yeah, I can wear a hat today. So I walk into this store, this Amish store, and we're looking at stuff, and her and my mom, they're looking at stuff, and I'm off the side. And this clerk, this Amish clerk, starts staring at me from behind the desk, you know, and I'm looking at, nope, all clear, you know, nothing. Well, he finally walks out, and he gets right up here, and he looks right at me. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, okay. And he says, are you? Am I what? Am I what? That's exactly it. You're ahead of the story. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. I mean, what do you say when somebody asks why you? I said, am I what? Are you a man of faith? Then I remembered my hand, and he points to my hand. I go, well, that was a former resident. I explained, I said, thinks I am. Yeah, I think I am. He said, tell me what? And I started telling him these stories. And he says, we want to join you. I said, what? We've been praying to God that there would be some opportunity to help homeless. And we've checked out the homeless shelters, and they won't let us join them because we want to pray with people. And they said they get federal funding and they can't allow it. They'd accept our food and all that, but we can't pray with anybody. Well, he said, we want to pray with them. He said, I bet I can pray at your place. I said, pray your little heart out. You know? Come on, baby. Bring it on. Pray. You know, you can pull your beard and pray. I don't care what you do. Just bring it on. And so from that moment on, next thing I know, they had a community day. I went to that, got to meet some people. Then I actually went to an Amish service. They're born again believers, but drier than dust. Wow, you want to praise God, you got rusty preaching, let me tell you. About the time that third one went, they had 3 of them, and they were all an hour apiece. And they were monotone and long, nice guys. Men love Jesus. But Jesus didn't put an excited bone in all 3 of their bodies with the guys, all right? And they sang music in German, so I didn't know what they were talking about. I said they got But afterwards, they all flocked around me like little chicks around a hen. And once they said, tell me your stories. And they just ate them up. And they said, well, we don't have a way to haul veggies, but would you bring your vehicle up every week and we'll load it up with organic stuff. And they would give us a whole truckload every week. And they said, down the road, we'd like to have a work day where we come and maybe cook for you and bring our own food and do all of that. And if there's some way we can help, we do it. Well, we ended up wanting to take a barn down because it's where the shelter's going to go. And next thing I know, they said, we'll take the barn down. And they had a work day and they showed up, take the barn down. And they were from 13 years old on up. This little 13-year-old boy, he logged and logged and logged. I watched him all day, and I had to take Advil. I was so sore and tired watching him. So I went to that little fellow, and I said, I got to tell you something. He said, what? I said, I'm tired. I watched him. He says, and see, he don't joke. And I didn't think that way. He jokes with me now, but he looked at me and goes, what you been doing? That's what I did. I just lost it. Lost it. And he couldn't figure out what I was laughing about. But we've joined together, and now we're ready to build another one. They said they'd like to come over and and help us with that too. Brad heads it up, and they want to help with that. And they just want to do whatever they can to be a part of this. And they also want to sell my book in their store. It's going to be the only non-Amish book in an Amish store. So they do Amish and Hicks. But God can work through a hat. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after that. It was so funny, the president of the corporation, when he looked at me, he said, "What's your 20-year plan?" I said, "I don't have a 20-minute plan." And he looked at me and goes, "I understand." I said, "I don't know if God will have me in 20 years. I don't know what will be in 20 years." I said, "I don't worry about even tomorrow. My plan today is take care of those that God puts in front of me. Let's get them through today. Let God take care of tomorrow in 20 years and 10 years." So I don't have a plan. I haven't sketched anything out. I don't have a program. And I'm really a dumb pastor. I don't have any of that stuff. All I have is every day I get up and I say, "What do you want?" And I move it. That's seriously what I do. And then I move. And what he brings to my door, I move on there. And what he brings the next day, I move on there. I got a little fella, I'll close with this one. A little fella named Eli. How old is Eli? 7? 3? Is he 3? Oh my word. I told you it's dumb. All right?
What's his name? Eli?
Eli.
Eli.
He's a little blonde kid. And I thought he was 17 where he talks. And he walks into my office like this all the time. "Pastor Barry." "Yes, he was." "What you doing today, Pastor Barry?" "Not much, Eli." "Well, how you doing, Pastor Barry?" "I'm doing pretty good." "Have a good day, Pastor Barry." There he is. Every day, that little 3-year-old
Praise the Lord.
comes into my office and checks on me how I'm doing. And people say, "Pastor Barry, why do you do what you do?"
Amen. Woohoo!
Me, Eli. Me. If you hang around, you big brave men will turn into the biggest, whimpering, crying guys you ever saw. They will turn you to mush. Mush. If you read my book, you'll see a crybaby. But I'll tell you what, my crying is overjoyed. I cried out of fear when I started. I cry out of joy as we finish. Thank you. Oh. Sorry, my finger pointed the wrong direction.
Thank you so much.